There we go. Okay. That's how we do it. Hey, everybody. We've got 2:02. Let's give it another minute and we will get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for jumping on for our second session. Some folks were on the first session last week, some just did it about an hour or so ago. So thank you very much for spending some more time with us. What we're going to go over today are some of the major contract terms and a little bit more in depth on the broker auctioneer agreement and the division of work and responsibilities. And if we have time towards the end, we do have a little bit of kind of some prospecting notes to go over with you guys, just some stuff that has worked for us when we're out looking for auction clients. So with that, we are going to get going. Just like the last time, I'll go ahead and if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We don't have as many people on this session. So we'll probably, how many do we have? We have 15. Yeah, let's try to wait till the end for questions, but put them in the chat, or then we'll just unmute people and we can talk towards the very end. I'm gonna hide this thumbnail and get us. So, as we discussed in the first session, kind of two paths. Identify as the first. The first thing that we need to do, identify the property and the seller, and then push it off to refer or push it off to partner with us. We're going to be talking today mostly about partnering and what agreements there are in this, and what we provide and what we need to get from a local broker partner. So there's going to be a commission agreement, which is between us and the broker or agent, and that's going to line out basically who's getting paid and how we're getting paid. Then we're going to break that down into page 2, which is a responsibilities addendum, which is going to list out what everybody is responsible for. And let's see if you don't mind if you haven't muted yourself, if you can, while we're going through the presentation, unless you're going to unmute to ask a question. I appreciate it. We all know that everybody's phone can ring at any minute, and we don't want to overhear your confidential conversation with your clients, okay? So in addition to the responsibilities addendum and the agreement between the broker and the auction firm, we are going to have an auction listing agreement. There's an auction purchase agreement, and then there are local addendums. There's also general terms and conditions, but those are basically the informal terms that are all tied up in legalese into the auction purchase agreement. So the main documents we're going to be dealing with are going to be the commission agreement, the auction listing agreement, the auction purchase agreement, all that we provide to you guys, and then you guys would provide us with the local addendums so we can contract with that seller. So our commission agreement, the major terms in the commission agreement is that we're going to provide these documents, which are going to replace any other document. So, for example, we would not have 2 listing agreements. we would have an auction listing agreement and then just the addendums. Somebody's car is beeping outside. So, and then you guys provide the local addendums to the group. It's going to be disclosures, whatever is required in your state or municipality. As far as commissions go, on deal one, it's 3% to the listing agent and 2% to the buyer agent. Deal two is 4% to the listing agent, 2% to the buyer agent. And then if there's no buyer agent involved, the listing agent, the auction company will split that 2%. Okay, so we'll split the 2%. And historically, and we're talking 20, 25 years of sales, 70% of the time we are going to contract without a buyer agent involved. I don't know exactly why, but historically, buyer agents are not participating in the auction sale, regardless of what the buyer agent compensation is. It could be 1, it could be 4, it really doesn't matter. Only about 30% of the time are we seeing a buyer agent involved in the transaction. And then as far as the other finance on here, the expenses are advanced by the auctioneer and reimbursed by the seller. So we went over on the first time, no out-of-pocket cost to you guys. We fund everything. We do put that back on the seller at closing. It is part of the listing contract, and we'll get into that here in a couple of slides. But if we do not end up having the seller pay those, then we do take them off the top, reimbursed before we do splits. Most of the time the seller is paying them. Sometimes it is a negotiation item when we're trying to close the auction contract with the seller. That's one of the things sometimes we negotiate away, but that's not something we're going to negotiate away without having it be an agreement that we're all happy with. That includes us and our listing partner. So kind of going into the broker responsibilities and the auctioneer responsibilities, pretty simple. We're going to enter into the commission agreement. On our side, we're going to interview and vet the client, attend a listing presentation meeting. We do almost all of those as some folks are getting really comfortable with the contracts and the forms. Sometimes they do those themselves, but most of the time we're doing that either as a web call or a phone call and helping you guys close the listing contract with the seller. If we have to prepare and deliver a proposal, we will. Most of the time that's not required. We tend to do, like I said, Zoom or conference calls with the seller. We talk to them, answer all their questions, and then it's usually a go or a no go. Very rare that we're having to present an auction proposal. And then we'll present the contract and try to get the deal signed. At the same time, we're gonna both enter into the commission agreement, ask you guys to do some sort of a pricing document. Doesn't really have to be formal unless the seller is requesting something that's formal. We're just trying to get an idea of what you as the local expert think that the property is worth. So when we're having these conversations with the seller, we can all collectively get an understanding if we think their wants and needs matching up with what we think that we can present to them at the end of the event. So you're also just going to introduce us to the client, bring them to the presentation meeting. And then in the event that there are any advanced marketing funds, you would just make sure that you would facilitate the transfer of those to us. Again, usually we fund everything. Scenario where we might not be funding 100% would be, say, for example, a seller is adamant that they want particular marketing to be done in an area where we know that there is going to be almost zero return on investment. We're not going to want to invest those funds ourselves. We're going to tell them, okay, fine, If you absolutely have to have that, we don't think it's worthwhile, but that's fine. But we're going to ask them to advance those funds to pay for that marketing. And in that case, you're probably local to them, so facilitating the transfer, they may cut you a check, you just mail it to us, whatnot. But that would be one of the only reasons that you would ever need to be involved in transfer of marketing funds. So in the pre-marketing period, we're going to prepare all the public marketing efforts. So we'll prepare the Google ads, we'll prepare the Facebook ads, we'll prepare the auction flyer. We're going to coordinate these ad placements and what the publication dates are, set the schedule. We'll order and have auction signs delivered to the brokerage or to the broker or agent. And we're going to work with you guys to draft and then forward the text to you guys. So what you would do is you're going to describe the property. We're going to overlay, say, the auction-centric language. Together, we're coming up with kind of our ad pitch, or more of like what you have as, you commonly know as an MLS description. And then you would put that into any of your promo that you're going to do. Most of that is really just kind of posting to MLS. Right? Create a property information pack that's usually for commercial properties. Develop terms of sale. We're going to set up the bidding portal and add the auction details to your property description. For you guys on your side, if we are in an area where we don't have a local title agent, and I'm going to ask that you introduce us to one. Remove the broker sign and place the auction sign on the property. Adjust your MLS and your MyState MLS. And if people don't know what MyState MLS is, it's a syndication portal that we really, really love. But we can talk about MyState MLS when we do Q&A. If it's commercial, adjust the LoopNet and CoStar. And what you're doing is you're changing the description that you've got in there. You're adding in kind of the auction-centric language to talk about buyer's premium, to talk about closing period, to talk about start and stop for bidding, things like that. Compile any due diligence materials. So again, mostly for a property info pack on a commercial property, say, if it's an investment property, due diligence materials would be copies of leases. If it's an investment property, we might want to be putting in, copies of electric and sewer bills, if these are things that are relevant. So as the person that's local, you're compiling that. A lot of it these days is easier to do. For the sellers, we just kind of give them a list and they tend to just scan things and send them to us. So not a lot of heavy lifting on compiled due diligence materials, but it might be something that you'd be asked to do. To the extent that you have had this listing before, say this is on the tail end of the listing, and you've kind of decided you're moving to auction, provide any of the prior site photos or any of the other offering memos or anything that you've already used in prior marketing, so we can adjust those and reuse them for the auction effort. And provide the necessary state and local addendums. Draft and review the property description, and just forward all the stuff to us. We drop it into all of the ads and move on from there. So we'll place all the ads and everything. So basically, you're just assisting us with getting information, putting sign on the property, lockbox on the property if there isn't one, and introducing us to a title agent if we don't have one already in that area. So during the marketing period, we're going to run the entire marketing program ourselves. We're going to receive and screen the buyer registrations, manage the auction-specific inquiries on the property, and log and respond. An auction-specific question is going to be something like, what are the terms of sale? Can you explain? Or can you send me a copy of the contract? Can you explain paragraph 4? Things of that nature. We're going to refer property-related questions to our broker partner. So that'd be, are the counters granite? Is this leaded glass? Can you describe the chandelier in more detail? things like how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, we can answer those just as easily, but if they're really detailed questions, we're going to refer those questions to you guys, since you have seen the property and we haven't. And we're also going to refer any requests for private showings to you. We don't get a lot of requests for private showings, but that does happen sometimes, usually from an unrepresented buyer, and would then forward those to you to do the showing. On your side, I'm going to want you to do a broadcast email just to your prospect list. We don't have access to your sphere of influence. We want to wrap them in, so make sure to send out to your SOI, and make sure to send out to your own social media. Again, private previews when requested, open houses, depending on the property, there's 1, maybe 2 open houses. We'd also coordinate with you guys and discuss, do people come to open houses in your area? In some areas, people look at pictures, they do video walkthroughs, and they really don't come to open houses. So depends on the area, and we discuss that with you and decide, do we need to do open houses or not? And respond to any prospect inquiries that come directly to you, and forward the details of those up to us, so we can keep a log of all the prospects. And then disseminate brochures and property information packages to any prospects that you see or meet with directly, maybe hand them out to other folks in your office, things of that nature. Auction day, we're going to do a final partner call. We're going to see if we can identify what we think the high bid price is going to be at the auction. We're going to talk about who the hot buyers are. We're trying to identify who we think might be the buyer. And believe it or not, if we actually talk to these folks enough, a lot of that information does become available. People tend to tell you what they're thinking if you just ask. So on our side, we're also going to assist written bidders with registration, facilitate the sale, respond to the final auction related questions, and then at the conclusion of the sale, we'll identify the high bidder and prepare the purchase and sale agreements, send them out into the jurisdictions where we are allowed to send out the purchase and sale agreement. Where we are not, due to licensing laws, we'd ask that our broker partner sends out the documents that we would prepare. And then if there's a negotiation that needs to go on to maybe close a gap to do a counter, then we handle that. You guys are going to handle the final property related questions, communicate with the bidders if they call, assist bidders with any questions that they have about the property, keep in touch with the sellers. We'll have already had our final partner call, probably have gotten an email, because that's usually what we do, get an email out to the seller. And then as we are dealing with the bidders and trying to work through the auction, if the seller has any questions, we ask our broker partner to coordinate with the seller while we handle the buyers and facilitate the sale. Assist with the buyer and seller negotiations if needed, and then follow up with the buyer to receive the signed purchase and sale agreement to verify the deposit with the title company. In many jurisdictions, we do that ourselves and handle it. Again, there's some states where the licensing laws are goofy and we are not able to do that. And at that point, we just ask the broker partner to handle it. So post-auction, we're preparing a summary for the sellers. That's going to say, how many bidders did we have? How many bids did we have? We're going to be looking at clicks through on Google Ads. We're going to be putting together how many folks did we have at open houses, right? So we're building a little piece of data for that seller, right? So we want them to feel comfortable with accepting the high bid, and the more data they have about the what has happened, the more comfortable they usually are with accepting that high bid at the auction, especially if the sale comes in a little bit lower than their expectation, right? But if we have 50 bidders, or if we have 50 prospects through an open house, we have 50 registered bidders, we have 200 unique bids, and the property high bid is $10,000 lower. We're really showing the seller, hey, look, this is the market. This is this is 100 people who are interested in your property enough to register, to come through an open house. And, that's the highest dollar that we're going to be able to get you today. If they want to counter, we can try to negotiate for a little bit more. But more times than not, they're taking a look at the data. And even if we can't negotiate for higher, they're usually going to end up accepting that high bid price. Then again, on our side, we're going to coordinate the closing. In the event that we do need to go and deal with a backup bidder, we'll take care of identifying the backup bidder, trying to negotiate a contract with them, and then the distribute funds and post-closing is really handled by the title company. But assuming we're using our preferred title company, it's kind of something on our side that we make sure gets done. On your side, you're going to coordinate any pre-closing inspections. We usually do not have those. This is usually non-contingent with no inspections, but if so, you are the folks on the ground. And then assisting in negotiation with the high bidders in the event that we're in a jurisdiction where we are restricted to only being able to conduct or facilitate an auction. It depends on the state, and in some cases it depends on even the city with city licensing. So now we're going to talk about the auction listing agreement, the major terms of auction listing agreement. This is the contract that we're going to have with us and you as the listing firm or the auction group and the seller. So it's an exclusive listing agreement, just like a general brokerage listing agreement. So it's an exclusive listing agreement, and that listing agreement lasts for 45 days plus 7 days post-auction, right? So 7 days post-auction. Once the auction is completed, if we're not in contract with somebody in 1 to 2 days, the chances that we're going to get into contract with them diminishes every single day. So we don't keep that listing agreement active past 7 days post-auction. We're going to tell them, hey, this is where it's going to be. It's griffinusa.com. We're going to talk to, there are going to be terms in there about reserve price, which used to be reserve price, and now we have in as subject to seller confirmation. They don't have to have a formal idea in their head of what they are going to accept. So we've done away with the minimum or the reserve price and having that in the contract. Everything is subject to their confirmation. When we bring them the high bid, they can accept it, reject it, or counter it. They're not contracted to be obligated to a particular price. We got away from doing that a few years ago, and it's made our clients a lot happier. There's going to be terms in there about end timing, commercial investments or investments. We end at 1:30 on Wednesdays. Residential retail properties, we end at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays. We'll let most of the consumers get home so they can have themselves a bite to eat, not be in the office, not be working on something else, and close that in the evenings. We're going to have contract terms in there as is, with no warranties. The only thing the seller is going to warrant is free and clear title. And there's going to be a 30-day closing requirement. Since we do the title work ahead of time, it's really common for auction buyers to close in less than 30 days. It's not unheard of to have a 5-day closing, but the listing contract will call for 30-day closing. The seller's requirements are only that they're going to need to provide us with interior access for showings and open houses, obviously get photographs, things of that nature, allow signage on the property. And if somebody reaches out to them about purchasing the property, that they're going to forward that inquiry onto us. So the financials related to the auction listing, it is a 10% buyer's premium with 2% available for a possible buyer. And for folks that have never worked with buyer's premium before, essentially the buyer's premium is the percentage over and above the high bid that the purchaser is paying in addition to that high bid to come up with the total contract price. So for example, if the high bid is 100,000, The buyer's premium is $10,000. Total contract price is $110,000. The financials, there is a $2,500 minimum fee for taking on an auction property. We've done a lot of bank work and low dollar stuff, and it's not worth it, especially now splitting with the listing agent, listing broker. We're going to be doing too much work to not make a minimum of $2,500 for the sale. So that is one of the other contract terms in the financials. We do put in there a $395 processing fee. Essentially, that is going to transaction coordinator, and then the reimbursement of agreed upon marketing that the auction firm is advancing. As far as your closing costs, there's going to be a title search fee. There's going to be a deed preparation fee, and then there's going to be applicable taxes. So out of the high bid, the only deductions that they're going to have are going to be what's right here on this page. $395 processing fee, reimbursement of agreed upon marketing, if that's what we have in our contract, and then deed prep, title search, and applicable taxes. The buyer's premium, which is where most of the commissions are going to come out of, are paid by the buyer, and all of the other applicable codes and costs are going to be paid by the buyer. So I think, yeah, so that is kind of a quick run through of more of the details. We've got a little bit about prospecting, places to find sellers, etc. But at this point, if folks had, questions related to documents, anything that we just went through in those 5 or 6 slides, I'm going to pop that into the chat or unmute, and feel free to ask those questions now, or we can wait till the end and do it all. It's your guys' choice. We want to just keep on pushing through. So just like in the first sessions, if it's the exact same slide as in the first session, kind of places to find your auction sellers, your own deals. If you start looking for auction opportunities in your own deals, you will find them. You just need to be thinking about your seller. The easiest way to think about a seller that might be good for auction is if they have some type of a timeline that is pushing their sale. Do they need to move? Do they need to be in another state by such and such a date? Is there something else going on in their life that is driving timeline, where timeline becomes more of a factor? And those are the ones that, thinking about an auction scenario in your own deal flow, something that you guys should take a look at. Talked about investors, bankers, attorneys, and trustees. Investors, it's dollars and cents to them. They want to get their return as quickly as they can. So that's a time motivation. Can they get their return on their investment through an auction? Maybe they can, if we think that the value of the property is in line with what they want or need out of it. They are ideal for auction because they want to get their money back as quickly as possible. Bankers, attorneys, and trustees, they have in the form of a banker, probably some type of a default. There's a foreclosure scenario, maybe pre-foreclosure. They want to get the property sold and get their money back as quickly as possible. Attorneys and trustees, they're trying to close out files. Attorneys could be divorce, it could be a decedent's estate, it could be a receivership. They could be representing a banker. They're usually driven by just getting the property sold, getting the money where it needs to go, and closing out a file. So again, it's kind of time driven, and them closing out files. Trustees, kind of the same way. They're trying to move through a file load. Yes, we know that, hey, they want to get as much for it as they can. But these are the folks that they don't want it to take too long. They've got other things to do. They've got other clients to manage. So bankers, attorneys, and trustees are where a ton of our business comes from. Newly expired, if that's something that you prospect, this auction tool is a good thing to maybe bring up to somebody who you're talking to who had a property expired yesterday and you're calling them today, you're probably bringing up something to them that nobody else is. So whether they want to go through auction or not, it is a break the ice type of conversation. What can you bring that their other agent didn't? Well, here's a new idea for them to consider. Might help you get the listing. It might be an auction. We don't know. About to expire, that kind of goes back into your own deals. And if you're looking at a seller that, for whatever reason, the property hasn't sold, and you're going to be either having that expire and losing the listing, or you're going to be renewing it and they're asking you, what else can we do here? We don't know how we can get this property sold. Maybe think about the auction. For sale by owners, good, because the big objection for sale by owners is that they don't want to pay commissions, and they want to minimize their costs. So with the auction program, buyers paying the commissions, buyers paying most of the closing costs, it takes away a lot of FSBO objection. Other agents, we mentioned other agents in your brokerage, other agents that you work with. You guys partner up inside the brokerage and bring the property to auction, and split the fees with the other agents in your office. Wholesalers, like I said on the first call, not a big fan of wholesalers, because you do need to get directly to the seller, and a lot of wholesalers don't want to do that, but they are an avenue to consider if the scenario is right. Wholesalers could be a lead source for you. So we got 2 in the chat. Do you have any stats on how many auction homes compare with sold prices versus traditional with a listing agent? So there's not really a statistic, Kristen. To get that statistic, we would have to have a number of properties that we sell traditionally, and then we turn around and we sell the same exact property at auction to compare the prices. What I can tell you is that we're going to be doing an assessment to see what we think we can get out of the property and what the seller thinks and what the property is worth on the retail market. A lot of times these days we're getting pretty close to what we would consider retail, if not a little bit over. But comparing, one property to the other is it's kind of impossible. So can really only talk about that in generalities. Cincinnati, we do a lot of work in Cincinnati. We do a lot of foreclosure work in the state of Ohio. And what I can tell you is in our foreclosure work, pre-COVID, before foreclosure stopped, we were selling about 1,000 properties a year at foreclosure auction. And now, mind you, these are, you can't get in them, you can't finance them, and you're not going to see the interior before you close. So those are some things that are keeping people away from those types of opportunities. But even there, we were seeing about 80% of what we thought was retail with those specific restrictions. That's about the best I can get for you. Are there samples of the documents? Yes, yeah. As if you guys have a project that you're looking at, we definitely can get you a document package. Not a problem. So let me see what this other chat is. Think you got it. So finding bankers and lawyers and trustees, this is how I got into the business, and this is where most of our auction clientele has come from up until the past few years. And Sandra, let me answer your question here after I get done with this slide. So finding the bankers, and you're really going to be looking for community bankers and commercial bankers. Doing residential REO work in the auction side is extremely difficult. I don't even prospect it, to be honest with you, because it's you're going through servicers, and those servicers have national contracts with large portfolio auctioneers such as auction.com, Williams and Williams. So we have not really gone after those types of lenders, but the local bankers, the community lenders, the state associations. For example, in Ohio, where we do a lot of bank work, it's the Community Bankers Association or the Ohio Bankers League. So getting yourself involved with those groups are a good source of deal flow, even if they're not defaults, which you will see. A lot of those banks also have trust departments, and those trust departments sell real estate. They also manage real estate. And then they outsource it to auctioneers and real estate brokers and property managers. It's also ask around if you're talking to your local branch people. They may not have any idea that the bank sells real estate, but you can find, ask them, hey, do you have an REO officer, or do you have a workout department? Or the other key term is a special assets group, right? So looking for those different areas of your community banks and your credit unions are where you guys can find a lot of listing work and also a lot of auction. That's my daughter. So let me answer this question. Sandra's asking, were those pre-foreclosures or courthouse foreclosures? If you're talking about the ones that we were doing in Ohio, and I was answering the question about Cincinnati, those were courthouse foreclosures. One of our major contracts is undertaking the judicial sale or the foreclosure sale in lieu of the sheriff's or marshal's service. So those were actually conducting the foreclosure auction. So finding your attorneys, pretty simple to find your attorneys. And again, these guys have deal flow. They've got a lot of it. You can reach out to your local bankruptcy court for a list of the panel trustees. Those are what you'd also call a Chapter 7 trustee. You can look at Martindale Hubbell, lawyers.com, or Find Law, right? And you can also look for state and local bar associations. A lot of those have Lawyer Find on their website. So you can type in what type of an attorney you're looking for and in what type of area geographically, and then you search for keywords and it'll pop up the names and the contact information of these attorneys. So for me, I'm dealing with a lot of insolvency. So we're using the terms debtor, creditor, creditor rights, banking, bankruptcy, insolvency. We do a little bit of probate work. You can also do divorce. You can look for elder law, things like that. And a lot of them have drop downs. So you don't have to come up with these terms on your own. You can just look through the drop downs. And if it sounds like somebody that would be dealing with some type of an estate or some type of asset recovery, those are the attorneys that you're going to want to identify and start reaching out to. So this is why I like law firms. So I call it the ripple effect, right? One law firm is going to represent, say, 5 banks. Each bank has 5 workout officers, right? And each workout officer is running a number of different files. So if you get in good with a law firm, you're through just that ripple, you have the potential to be introduced to 5 banks with 5 workout officers. That's 25 people right there. You just made contact with one attorney, right? That one attorney, you're their go-to person, but that ripples you out. So you're not chasing a one-off deal, a one-off deal, a one-off deal. You're looking to try to get these more corporate clients so you can have 2, 3, 10, 20 deals in a year off of that law firm or that attorney. Right? Just think about divorce on the other side. It's not just the law firm, but an attorney has 20 divorce clients. Each client lives somewhere, right? Maybe they rent, maybe they own, but there's 200 potential sellers, there may be 400 potential buyers there. They're not all going to be auction buyers. They're not all going to be auction sellers. But a lot of times they do have a property to divide up, and that property is sometimes real estate, or a lot of times real estate. So think about the law firms and the banks and the corporate clients. It's a great way to identify not just auction sellers, but traditional sellers as well. So kind of some more about prospecting and retention. A lot of people have lead gen websites. So, be looking in there, build your database. I started out using just putting everything into a spreadsheet and keeping track of it that way, and then following up with people, and hey, if they had any interest, they went into my contact manager, and I've been using Outlook for as long as I can remember. So they go in there with a note, and then I follow up with them. A lot of folks use Salesforce or something else. So you're just basically building your database, and just like you're building a database for, say, a geographical farm, this is you're building a database. For me, it's lawyers, attorneys, bankers, judges, right? It may be a little bit different for you, but you could have, hey, these are people that I'm looking at really for auction leads, and they're going to be in one database, and you could have them coded differently for general brokerage. Okay, basically call and ask for the meeting. This is what we're doing with our lawyers and our bankers. Just calling them and asking them for a meeting. And cold calling, I know it's kind of not fun, but you're calling these folks. You're not just cold calling and saying, hey, do you or anybody you know want to buy or sell a property today? You're calling and you're talking to an attorney who, if you've gone through and used those keywords to identify those attorneys, they do have clients that have a sale need. They do. I guarantee it. If it's a banker and you're getting to the right banker in the right part of the bank, they do have property to sell. They absolutely do. So you're getting right there to a potential repeat client. What we say to people is about, especially with the lawyers, ask for a meeting early or late, because you're not a billable client yet. And if you're just going in and they're finding out just what you have to offer, they can't bill you to a client yet. So we've gotten the highest response rate asking for just general introduction meetings in the morning or in the afternoon. And in the morning is like 8 a.m. In the afternoon is maybe after 4. If we're going in the morning, I walk in with a jug of Starbucks and schmooze the assistants. It's the simplest thing in the world. Talk to the secretary, talk to the assistant, talk to the paralegal if it's in the law firm. Make sure that you're communicating with them. Bring them coffee too. A lot of times, what happens with us is we'll get a phone call from the assistant or from the paralegal or from the junior attorney, because the decision maker, they say, hey, who is that guy that was in here talking to us about auctions 2 weeks ago? Find his card or find her card. And then it's the assistant, the gatekeeper, that is going back, looking up your contact information and reaching out to say, hey, can we set up a call with this decision maker? So a lot of times it's very important to be kind to the assistant, because they're the ones who are going to be calling you. And with my best clients, I talk to their assistants all the time. I talk to their assistants more than I talk to them. So let's see. So just simple. It's what's worked for us. Again, with the attorneys and with the bankers, we're trying to stay in front of them. We do direct mail, and it does still work. And we do it once a month. So I have, 350 some odd attorneys that I reach out to all the time. It's just constant. And I send them a postcard once a month, no matter what. Some of the places that you can get those, my favorite is Magnum Press. I found them like right down the street from my house years ago. And I've got folks that from around the country use them for their direct mail. If you wanted to go a little bit more budget, Pure Postcards or Postcards Plus is pretty good. And then emails. So when you're setting up your direct mail and you're researching these people and you're putting them into your database, when we do that, we get them in and we're sending them emails once a month, and it's gonna flip flop with the direct mail. So every 2 weeks they're gonna get a touch from us. One's gonna be an email, one's gonna be a drip campaign. So we're touching those guys at least 24 times a year. And if you get into using press releases, which we do use in a lot of our auction properties, we're doing press releases. We're then sending a copy of that press release to these repeat prospective sellers as well. So they're going to get touched by us more than 24 times. We find that if we keep in touch with them and we keep that list small, it's not very expensive at all. I think the junior, the lowest thing with constant contact is $20 a month, and that might be 500. Ours is over 200,000, and it's a little bit more expensive. Again, prospecting and retention. Since we're mostly doing lawyers and bankers and trustees, I like to attend bar association meetings and attend banker conferences. We do regularly speak at them. These groups are always looking for somebody to give a presentation on a topic, and the best way to be seen as the expert is to be the one that the bar association is telling all their members that they should come listen to for an hour. It's a big credibility booster. Almost every time I do one of those, we walk out of there with a project. So that's dollars in the pocket for you spending an hour talking about something off the top of your head, right? A big one also for us, and it's kind of controversial, but it brings in a lot of work, is get involved in our local political parties. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, but if you have an interest in politics, it is a great way to build business contacts. With us, we work on a lot of re-election campaigns, because through the years we've met the attorneys, we've met the judges, become friendly with them, and we start working on their re-election campaigns. And by working on the re-election campaigns, you're right there hand in hand. It's no longer Judge Smith, it's Bob, right? And people tend to call people that they feel comfortable with. So when Judge Bob feels real comfortable with you, you're going to get the phone call from Judge Bob. And when Judge Bob calls, it's usually because something is selling, and it's guaranteed to sell because he's ordering it to be sold. So getting involved in those types of political scenarios definitely generate dollars. Another way to get involved real quick is if you can become a donor, a campaign donor. The fastest way to get noticed with political involvement is to be on the finance side. So that's just the way that works. If you feel comfortable with it and you can, it's another great way to get in the door with your local parties. And then speaking of parties, we do client parties twice a year. We do a Bloody Mary bash on New Year's Day after everybody has either stayed home or gone out. And then we do a barbecue in the fall, and we have had upwards of 400 people coming through that event. You can cater it, and it costs a lot of money. You can do a lot of the cooking yourself, right? 5 pounds of pasta salad, if you make it yourself, that's going to cost you $10, right? If you get it catered, it's going to be $300. So there are ways to think about and do that economically. We do them, and every time we have one of those events, I walk out of there, and within 24 hours, I've got some sort of project going with somebody that came by. So just some of the ways that we look for business, and some of the ways that we keep in touch with our folks. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't, you don't have to do it. It's fine. I'm just kind of giving you a little bit on how we do it. you see, that is kind of the end of going through, contract terms and a little bit on prospecting. We're going to start doing a 4:00 call starting next week. That's just going to be, Q&A and idea sharing. So we will get those details out to everybody that's on here. But that's kind of the end of me talking to you guys. So let's open it up for you guys to ask questions. And let's start with this. If you have a seller who is interested in doing an auction, do you have a step 1, step 2 cheat sheet? Yeah, if you have a client that's interested in doing an auction, give us a call right away and set up a call for you, the seller, and us to get on. And then what we do with you is we say, okay, Mr. Seller, this is the basics, and what are all of your questions? And then we answer those questions for them. And as we're answering those questions, we're starting to start to listen to see if they're going to be a good prospect, if it's going to be a good property. And then right there on that call, we're going to be asking them, and can we send you over a listing agreement? And so we're going to handle all of that for you to try to get that auction listing booked. Are there marketing materials? Yes, we have marketing materials, and we're actually having them reworked right now in Canva, so they're more manipulable and that we can then share them with folks. But yes, we do have those. And then we ended up having people that wanted to customize them and co-brand and put their logos on them. So we were trying to have those done for today, but the 4th of July holiday has got us a couple of days off. But the answer to that question is yes. Guys, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, please feel free to do that, or you can type them into the chat. It says Claire Parker raised hand. Claire, if you would like to just unmute and ask away.
Oh gosh, hold on. Okay, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, got a quick question. The $395 processing fee.
Mm-hmm.
This is an additional to the fee that the broker has as well.
Well, the broker doesn't have any fees. Yeah, but it would be it's just a contract cost. Yeah, the $395. And some jurisdictions were not allowed to charge that, so it's not for everyone.
I'm sorry, you said it's not for everyone?
In some jurisdictions, we're not allowed to charge a processing fee. So it's if you're in one of the jurisdictions where it's not allowed, if there's a municipal or state law against those types of fees, then we do not charge it.
Okay. The other thing was, how do you find out a bar associating meeting? How does one?
Most of the bar associations, there are usually state and county are going to be the ones that you're going to want to be looking at. Probably your county or your multi-county area and your I call it an MSA. It's your wherever you're located. You're going to look up. So for me and where I live, I go between Florida and Ohio. So I would look up Pinellas County, Florida Bar Association, or Franklin County, Ohio Bar Association, and just Google it, and it'll pop up, and they'll probably have a website, and there'll probably be a lawyer search that you can look in to find local attorneys that do various things.
Okay, thank you.
So you can find the local attorneys there. You can also find out about the different committees that they have and what the committee schedules are. And they're usually open to anybody. I've never gone to a bar association meeting and they've said, you're not a bar association member, you can't come in. So just And some you can call, ask the bar, the admins at the bar association, say, hey, I'm a real estate broker and I'm interested in bankruptcy. Can I come to the bankruptcy committee meeting? And more than likely, they're going to welcome you with open arms.
Okay. All right. Will we have flyers to leave or something like that?
Yeah, you can leave whatever materials that you want, or like I said, we're on the tail end of redoing ours so that they can be co-branded in Canva, and then we can get those to you guys and you can co-brand them.
Okay.
Mastermind session, we're going to start doing them on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock.
Excuse me, Patrick Lemaski here. I'm driving, so I can't type. Quick question though. Love the co-branding stuff. Love the Canva things. Do you? I can't really see the screen right now. Do you want us to reach out to express interest, or is that something that's going to be? Will we be notified about that? Whatever the next steps, the masterminds, etc.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot you guys an email about the masterminds. It's going to be next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We've already set up the Zoom, so we'll just email that link out to everybody. And unless my man Jeremy really has dropped the ball, we will have all the Canva stuff done by then too.
Awesome. Thank you kindly. Appreciate the time.
No problem. Thanks for getting on.
Hi, I have a question. This is Shawnee. My question was, and I'm sorry if I missed it, I had a phone call. So do you, as far as do you have a website? How do you run your auctions?
We do. We have a web portal that takes all the bids. It's griffinusa.com.
How do you advertise that?
All over the place. So it's going to be social media. It's going to be email. It's going to be property signage. It's going to be general outreach to local real estate professionals, other agents, other real estate professionals, title companies, real estate attorneys. Sometimes we're doing PR or press releases. We're just trying to basically get it out electronically wherever we can through a site called My State MLS. It's also a syndication site. So that's going to go to realtor.com, Zillow, all the leads, ends up syndicating out to about 100 different portals. So it's almost all electronic.
Okay, and are you an LLC?
Our company, yes, we are.
And when was that formate? What was the formation?
2003.
Okay. All right, thanks.
No problem. Yes, you cannot charge a better buyer. Yeah, with a VA loan, I believe that's correct.
That's actually an interesting question. Are these properties mortgageable? Will the mortgage companies will they cover that buyer's premium? Is that lendable?
Yeah, because it comes into being the total contract price. So you're gonna end up with say $100,000 high bid, $110,000 a $10,000 buyer premium, and $110,000 total contract price. So yes, it's just basically doing the commissions a different way.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
So yeah, so it is financeable. It is mortgageable. The auction properties are not subject to a financing contingency, but yes, it is very, very, very common for the buyer to finance it. They just don't have that contingency to be able to walk away. If they, for whatever reason, can't get their financing and can't close on the property, the seller's keeping their money.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, hey, just out of curiosity, is there anybody that's on here because they think they have a seller that's ideal for this process, or is everybody just getting information?
I actually do.
Who's I?
This is Shawnee.
Hi, Shawnee.
Hi.
Hi. Well, great.
Yeah, I've seen the email just because I was thinking about the other auction sites. And it's the perfect candidate, you know, it would have been like a wholesale, which was the type of, you know, property. Investor property.
All right, so Jeremy or I will get with you after this if you want, and we can just talk about it one-on-one, see if it's something that we can help you put together.
Okay.
Adrian, Lori. So Lori might have an auction property. That's awesome. Adrian might have an auction property. That's awesome. Shawnee does think she has one. Oh, Adrian says he might have one that he personally wants to sell. I have done that with a lot of my properties, and it's always worked out really, really well. I did during COVID when there wasn't really a lot of inventory available and the market was going up, and I just got out of all my rentals. Did very, very well. Sold them all at auction. So are there any other question? Would you be able to send us the recording? Yeah, assuming that we recorded it correctly. Yes, we can send you a link to that. That's not a problem. You're welcome, Adrian. You're very welcome. Hey, Jeremy, if you can you handle the any quick questions that are coming up? My contractor is outside wanting to get paid, and I will jump back on in a second.
Yep, that's no problem. Does anyone have anything else? Yes, so the mastermind call is again going to be next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Jeff, yes, I think that something we could do. We should have your email address through the registration so we can work that out.
Okay, I am back.
Okay, there was I think any more questions except Jeff wanted to be able to view a copy of the agreement to discuss with his broker.
Yeah, Jeff, I can give you a call or an email, and we can get you copies of what you're looking for. I don't know if it's the listing agreement or if it's the broker auction company agreement, but yeah, we can do that. All right, well, if there are no other ones, then we will clear off and get with the folks who asked us to get with them one-on-one and try to get some meeting times set up with you guys. And Kim West, get a package. And not a problem. We will get you the information for the afternoon kind of Q&A mastermind calls that we're gonna have started. I think we're gonna have the first one next week, so we'll get everybody that information. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.